Hello everyone, welcome back to the last lap. In today's video, we have a lot of action to break down for you guys. A bunch of stuff happened at Charlotte this weekend, and we're going to break it all down for you guys. But really quick, just want to remind you guys, hit that subscribe button and that like button, and you can check us out on Instagram at The Last Lap News. I know I'm flying by that fast, but Matthew, oh boy, do we have a bunch to talk about. So that was, whew, I'm still catching my breath from that race because that was arguably the most stressful playoff race this year so far, and I'm still catching my breath. But we're going to hop right into it. And how you feeling post Roval going into the round of 8?
Well, first of all, before we start, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Daniel back home. He's on iRacing, and we are partnering with him on iRacing. The last lap is on the car, and we just had our first race. He had his first race with our sponsor just moments ago, and he ended up winning. So congratulations to him, and we cannot wait to see more dubs in the future. And as for the race itself, whew, man, I was fired up at some parts of this race. We're going to talk about it, but there's one certain part that I am fired up about. So I'm ready to talk about it. I know Jimmy's ready to talk about it. I know he has some stuff that he's fired up about as well. So this is going to be a good one.
I couldn't agree more, but yes, also shout out to Daniel for bringing home the W for us and our race car at Texas in the iRacing series. That was really cool to see. Look forward to more partnerships with him in the future. But yeah, we got a bunch to talk about, so I'm going to fire through this Xfinity race really quick. It was a great race nonetheless, but the win ended up going to AJ Allmendinger after a late race restart, and the guys who had missed the cut were so Harrison Burton was in. It was between him and his cousin Jeb for most of the race. Harrison got in. Jeb was the first one out. Maya Snyder, Jeremy Clements, and Riley Herbst also missed the cut. And AJ Allmendinger looked like he was going to run away with this, and then there was a late race caution set up by, I'm pretty sure it was a green-white checker finish. But yeah, that's basically what I got to say about the Xfinity race. Matthew, do you have any quick comments before we hop into the Cup race?
Well, congratulations to AJ Allmendinger. I feel like the first half of the season, it's been Austin Cindric's season. Austin Cindric was the favorite to win the championship. But this second half of the season, I feel like AJ Allmendinger is now the favorite to win the championship. Because he can win not only just on road courses, but he's shown he can win on short tracks and even on bigger tracks like Michigan as well. So, and Las Vegas on mile and a half. So I'm looking forward. I think AJ Allmendinger is the favorite to win the championship right now. And that was a crazy finish there with Brandon Brown driving the finish line backwards. It was like shades of Ricky Bobby almost. But it was a great Xfinity race, and can't wait to see what goes on next week.
All right, so now it's time to unpack the big race, the Cup race, which was obviously today on Sunday. So Stage 1, Chase Elliott passed AJ Allmendinger on the final lap of Stage 1 to get the win there. So that was a great start for him because he was only 9 points above the cut line. Needed those stage points, so he was able to get those. Kyle Busch was able to win Stage 2, so that was able to help him out as well. Chase Elliott finished second in that stage, so he was able to accumulate a bunch of stage points. Alex Bowman and Kyle Larson for Hendrick Motorsports, they both had similar problems, but not the exact same problem. So Alex Bowman had an alternator issue, and that was causing the battery to die. And Kyle Larson had a belt issue. I believe it was for the alternator, an alternator belt issue, which wasn't draining the battery, I don't think, but they had to replace the battery, and then they fixed the belt as well and got him back on the track. Larson's problem was fixed, actually, and Bowman, they couldn't really fix his problem. So that was quite strange. I was a bit nervous as a Hendrick Motorsports fan that the same thing would happen to Chase or Byron, but thankfully that was not the case. Larson would end up coming back through the field, no problem. So things start to get interesting on lap 55. So Chase Elliott is working his way through the field. He's in front of Kevin Harvick. They go into turn 8, I believe. It's 2 turns before they get back onto the oval in turn 1. And Kevin Harvick decides to give payback to Chase Elliott for what happened at Bristol. He hits him in the back bumper, sends Chase Elliott into the wall, and then Chase Elliott tries to take a swing at him as they come back on the racetrack. He misses, Cole Custer hits him, and Chase Elliott spins out, and that caused the caution to come out. At this point, I was extremely livid to the point where Matthew could attest to that, but that was, yeah. So I'm going to give my 5-second review on this. So Chase Elliott cost Kevin Harvick a win by blocking him, and Harvick decides the proper retaliation is to wipe Chase out. So is that fair? I'm going to leave that up to you guys. But anyways, so that happened. Chase Elliott, I thought he was done, honestly, because apparently his sway bar or something was broke in the car, and his car was absolutely destroyed. I don't know how they fixed the car the way they did. So they fixed the car. He was back on the track, way up, not off the pace, but so like he was almost a minute behind the leader. He was in his own zip code, just kind of cruising, and the bumper starts to flare and start to fall off the back of the car, and eventually that bumper would fall off and cause a caution. So this is where we're going to get into a debate a little bit later. So NASCAR could have thrown the black flag, or they could have, but they decided to wait until it fell off and threw a caution once it fell off. We'll get into that a little bit later, but the caution did come out for that, and that allowed Chase Elliott to come down pit road, repair the damage a little bit more, and catch back up with the field. And then redemption. Sweet redemption. So Chase Elliott climbed his way back up through the field pretty quick, and he was closing on Kevin Harvick a little bit, and going into turn 1, Kevin Harvick locks up the brakes, drives into the actual wall, not the barrier, absolutely destroys his race car. And as a Chase Elliott fan, I'm just going to admit it, I went crazy in my house when I saw that happen. I was like, sweet karma. Karma, thank you so much for existing, because, yeah, so that was great to see. Kevin Harvick at that point was knocked out of the race, which means Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, they were all safe on points pretty much at that point, with Kevin Harvick being out of the race, so they could take it pretty easy and just get to the finish of this race without any more issues. And that was the case. They would all be able to make their way in on points. And at this point, it was between William Byron and Tyler Reddick. Before the caution with Chase Elliott came out with the debris, it was between those two for the most part, and then Kyle Larson snuck his way into the picture as well after changing the battery and the alternator part, and he made his way back up to the field, took the lead, and won this race. Kyle Larson won this race after having to do 2, 3, 4 pit stops for that mechanical issue. He was able to come back and win, so that's incredible by Kyle Larson and that race team to be able to come back after that kind of issue, to come back and win the race. Chase Elliott came back not win the race, I wish. He came back to get a pretty good finish to lock himself into the next round. I'm going to go through the top 10 very quickly and our other playoff finishes, and then Matthew can have the floor to talk about what he thinks about the race, and then after that, we'll get into our little debate about a few things. But so Kyle Larson got the win, Tyler Reddick finished second, Chris Buescher third, Kyle Busch fourth, Denny Hamlin fifth, Matt DiBenedetto sixth, great run for him, Joey Logano seventh, Christopher Bell eighth, Ryan Blaney ninth, Alex Bowman 10th. Solid day for Bowman, figuring he had that issue, the mechanical issue. Great for him to still get a top 10. Wasn't quite enough to get him to the next round though. William Byron 11th, he was running third with a few laps to go, tried really hard to send it into a corner, unfortunately got loose and ended up wrecking. 11th place for him. Chase Elliott came back to finish 12th. I cannot believe that after the damage on his race car. He had a very fast race car even after the damage somehow. Brad Keselowski 20th. He got spun and missed the chicane late in this race, so he had to stop for that. Truex 29th. Terrible run for Truex. I did not expect that out of him. I expected him to run very good here. He finished 29th. And the final playoff driver to finish was Kevin Harvick in 33rd, obviously after wrecking out. So that's all I got to say about the race recap. Matthew, give me your quick thoughts about the race, and then I'll ask us some questions and get a debate going.
Well, as for the race itself, this Charlotte Roval race played like every Charlotte Roval race that I know in the past few years, which is the first couple stages are normally calm, but when it gets later in that race, there's always going to be that one caution that comes out, and that's when things get crazy. And that's what happened again today. A bunch of craziness happened at the end of the race. Frankly, that might not have happened, but we're not. I'm gonna save that for our next discussion. But other than that, Kyle Larson wins, which doesn't surprise me at all. Because I think he's basically becoming an expert road course racer, now winning 3 this season, which is, I think they said, is the first time that's happened when a driver's won 3 road courses in one year, which is definitely impressive and kind of surprising. I thought Chase Elliott actually did that one, but apparently Larson did first, so that's interesting. Great day for Kyle Busch as well. After all the bad luck we always have at this track, we finally finished a race. It finished 4th, and I'm totally happy with that, considering how nervous I was going in this race and knowing how we have always had bad luck at this track. So I'm happy that we finished very well, and that's gonna be great momentum for us heading to Texas because we're gonna need it now. But yeah, other than that, it was a typical Roval race from what I've seen the past couple of years, and I'm ready to talk about this next topic here.
Okay, so our next topic is going to be the controversial call that NASCAR made to wait and throw the caution until Chase Elliott's bumper came off. So let me give you guys a little bit of insight on what NASCAR's rules are and what happened. So NASCAR's rules are that the cars do not need that back bumper that fell off of Chase Elliott's cars. However, where I believe NASCAR messed up is that, granted, that part is not required on the race car, but that doesn't mean that if it's hanging off that they should wait for that part to come off to call a caution. I do believe that it's a tough call because, alright, I'm going to compare this to other sports for a minute. So if you're in the playoffs, the NBA Finals, Game 7, 2 minutes left, the refs are not, they're going to hold back a little bit. They're not going to call those ticky-tack fouls that are late in the game. Same situation applies here for NASCAR. If you're any race car driver and you're on the racetrack and you have some damage, you are not going to pit and you are going to make NASCAR make that call. NASCAR did not make that call. That is not Chase Elliott's fault. That is NASCAR's decision. They chose to not make that call, probably because it's the playoffs. They probably want to see those cars on the racetrack. They don't want to have to black flag somebody and have them come down pit road. Granted, yes, it happened to Chase Elliott. Are non-Chase Elliott's fans going to say it's rigged or NASCAR called the race or whatever? Yeah, I'm sure they are. That's probably Matthew's opinion. And I get it. That's your opinion. You have your right to it. But in NASCAR's eyes, I mean, I don't know. It's not biased. They're not going to say, oh, it's Chase Elliott. Let's not give him a black flag. Let's let him run and have the bumper fall off. So, I don't know. It's a tough call either way. If this happens again, I do want to see consistency, and I do want to see NASCAR not black flag somebody for it if it's not at a short track or a road course, because that's where this applies. The back bumper is not needed at a short track or a road course, so that's probably not going to happen again this season. Maybe at Martinsville, I'm not sure, but if there's a situation like this again where the bumper's hanging off of the car, I would like to see NASCAR be consistent. So that's what I have to say about it, and Matthew, you can go ahead and disagree with me because I know you're going to go ahead and do that, so go ahead.
Alright, so I've been looking forward to this discussion all day long since this happened. First, I want to talk about the whole Harvick Elliott situation, the payback part. Well, I mean, Kevin Harvick, he still didn't forget, what happened in Bristol, and he saw him right there, and that was a perfect opportunity to give him the payback, which is, we've seen that happen before. Of course, notable examples, Kenseth and Logano, or Jeff Gordon and Clint Boyer, even though those are two different circumstances, as both of them were multiple laps down. They were on the lead lap, but it was the perfect time to pay back, and which is, it's fine with him because He felt like he was wrong. It was just a racing incident in my eyes. And Chase Elliott absolutely overreacted during that incident. So that I feel like Harvick was I feel like, Harvick kept, as long as Harvick kept his word, he was probably going to do it back, and he did it back here. So I saw that coming too. Like, I figured it was either going to be this race or Martinsville that something was going to happen, and apparently it was this race. So
I want to chime in really quick on that, really quick. So, like I said, Kevin Harvick cut Chase Elliott's tire down. What was Chase Elliott's retaliation? He held up Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick's retaliation to that. Yeah, but Kevin
Harvick hasn't had a good year all year long, and he was frustrated because he hasn't had the best year. No wins. And that was the best race he's had all season long. Of course, if you feel like someone's done something wrong to you, you're going to be mad about it. So it felt like he was wrong at that.
I'm not saying Kevin Harvick had a right to be upset. He did have a right to be upset. But he retaliated by wiping out Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott did not wipe out Kevin Harvick. All he did was run his line and make it tough for Kevin Harvick to pass him. Kevin Harvick comes into the Roval, wipes him out. So, in my opinion, that's not fair, but you can go ahead and continue.
I mean, Chase Elliott did put Denny Ham in the wall with many, many laps to go at Phoenix, and that basically ended Hamlin's race when he put him in the wall there, but no one talks about that, so it doesn't matter with me. But besides that, I want to talk about the one that really fired me up today. Was the obvious non-call with the Chase Elliott's back bumper scraping on the racetrack, getting ready to come off, basically dropping a big piece of debris on the racetrack, and there was no call, no black flag. I think that is absolutely ridiculous by NASCAR. This clearly shows that, I gotta think of this through. Like, I just found, it was just so baffling to me. Like, I'm like, where's the black flag? Because I've seen this happen before and they get black flag. Like, William Byron earlier this year, he had a rear bumper coming loose. NASCAR black flag him for that. So I was expecting the same thing happen to him. No call. Next time goes by, no call. Next you know, the caution comes in. Well, the bumper's on the track. And by the way, no black flag for that either. Purposely bring out the caution because you had a big old piece of debris on the car that was knowing you knew that was going to come off. So you purposely stayed out there.
That's not purposefully bringing out a caution. That's not purposely bringing out a caution. That's making NASCAR make a call.
They knew dang well that bumper was going to come off. They knew it was going to come off. So they knew what they were doing, and they got the caution. And I feel so sorry for William Byron today. Like, seriously, I feel so sorry for William Byron. I know a couple friends who are big William Byron fans. And they were not happy with Chase, that's for sure, because of that. And I totally feel for them because William Byron probably could have won this race. He showed great speed in the lead. He had a good lead going. And then when that happened, that basically screwed him up. And he couldn't rebound for that. Next you know, he's out of the playoffs. So I feel so bad for him because his teammate basically cost him a chance to advance the next round. Because I feel like Byron had a good enough car to win that race if that continued to be green. Because Larson and Busch were still in the back, like in the middle of the pack at that time, because they were having a hard time moving up. So I feel like as long as they were in the middle of the pack, I feel like Byron still had a good enough car to make it to the end. But that didn't happen, and it was really frustrating. Social media really lit up like a firework when this happened. I mean, I don't blame them because that is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I got so many thoughts in my head right now because I just don't know what to say about this. Because I know NASCAR by now, especially this year, they make some terrible calls. We got screwed out of New Hampshire because of a bad call with the rain. And then Charlotte Truck Series. I got so many examples. I don't have time to list all of them because there's been so many of these bad calls this season. And this is another one, a big one, nonetheless, because it affected the playoffs for sure with this call, with this non-call. So, if I were NASCAR, I'd be absolutely ashamed of themselves. If I were Chase Elliott and this nauseating fan base right now, I'll be embarrassed right now. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I could say a lot more right now, but the last thing I need to do is make a fool out of myself right now. So I'm going to hold back here. So that's all I'm going to say about it. And if I were Chase Elliott, I'm going to keep an eye on Harvick for now because Harvick has nothing to lose now, and it's going to hurt him more than it hurts him. So just be grateful he was able to make it to the next round, only because of that non-call. So that's all I'm going to say. And Jimmy, carry on.
So, yeah, obviously it was a tough call to make. I'm assuming NASCAR's opinion on this, on why they didn't black flag him, is because that part isn't needed, even though, like I said, if there's still a part that's hanging off the car that could be deadly to other cars running over it, I do think that needs to be addressed somehow, but
yeah, if you're going to stay out there, if you knew, they knew that bumper was going to come off if it stayed out on the track, so they need to do something about that. Make a rule. If you have something hanging on the track and you stay out there so that you can get the piece of debris off your car and cause a caution, then you should be penalized because that's like race manipulation almost. That affected the whole race. That affected playoff contenders, especially William Byron, like I said, which I feel really bad for.
That's why I said that this is not Chase Elliott's fault. If anything, it's NASCAR's fault for not making the call. If any other driver was out there, they would have done the same thing. They would have driven as far as they could have until they either A, got black flagged, or the piece of debris fell off and caused a caution. So
William Chase Byron Elliott this year when he got black flagged.
Well, yeah, but he went until he got black flagged. That's how it's going to work for any situation. You're going to go until NASCAR makes a decision, and they didn't do it. So NASCAR swallowed the whistle a little bit on that one per se, and that's seen in several other sports where there's a foul call that should have been called, or a pass interference that should have been called, and the refs swallowed their whistle and they didn't do it. So you can't be mad at the player. You got to be mad at the official, in my opinion. But anyways, I do feel very bad for William Byron. He did have a chance to win. I don't know, it's tough because I think this caution came out with 15 or 20 laps to go. So Byron and Reddick were 1 and 2, and Reddick might have gotten to William Byron, honestly. It might not have even mattered, and I believe another caution probably would have came out anyways. So, I feel bad for William Byron, but I feel like something else would have happened later in the race to where it might not have cost him the race, but it would have made things interesting down the stretch. So, obviously, a controversial circumstance there. Hopefully, NASCAR releases a more definitive statement on why they did what they did, hopefully this week, so we can at least kind of see where they're going with this. But let me go over the playoff standings really quick. This race was crazy, by the way, because I'm pretty sure we both predicted the 4 drivers that were going to be eliminated were the 4 that started out the race below the cut line, and that's it. That's what ended up happening. Kevin Harvick was out, Christopher Bell out, William Byron and Alex Bowman out, but William Byron was up front for most of this race. Chase Elliott had his issue. Kyle Busch was below the cut line for a while. Brad Keselowski was below the cut line for a while. So it was a crazy race with these point standings. But heading into the round of 8, we have Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Truex, Blaney, Elliott, and Kyle Busch. So the point standings as of now, Kyle Larson up 42, which is crazy in my eyes with all those playoff points. Hamlin plus 7, Truex plus 6, Blaney plus 1. Busch minus 1, Elliott minus 2, Logano minus 11, Keselowski minus 16. So we're going to hop into the playoffs next week, the round of 8 starting at Texas. But yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else to debate about, but Matthew, do you have, we have to rate the race and all that stuff, but do you have anything else you want to debate about real quick, or are you ready to start giving our ratings?
I'm ready to give my ratings. I've had enough thinking about that absolute blasphemy of a non-call. So I'm just gonna move on now. Let's just get to the ratings.
All right. So for me, this is tough because I was emotionally biased, I guess, throughout the race. I was very up and down throughout this race, with obviously my driver going through those issues and Kevin Harvick having his issues and all of that. But I think I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna go 8.5 out of 10, just because of those final. I mean, the Harvick and Elliott drama. It was obviously that was the highlight of the race. People probably aren't even going to talk about Kyle Larson overcoming what he went through to win this race, but that was another interesting story. And the playoffs are going back and forth the whole time. They need to keep these cutoff races the same. Bristol, Roval, and Martinsville. They need to keep those 3 races the cutoff races for several years to come, because the drama was there, lived up to all the hype. But I'm gonna give it 8.5 out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for me. I thought the first 2 stages, nothing really much happened. It was basically whoever was out front, whoever was out in the lead was going to keep the lead because track position really mattered. And then, of course, the 3rd stage, it got absolutely bonkers and crazy. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
All right, so also an update on our fantasy update. So you got your 1 point for AJ Allmendinger winning in the Xfinity race, and I got 2 points for Kyle Larson winning the Cup race today. So that makes now the playoff standings 33 for you, 26 for me, heading into next week at Texas. I will once again have my picks because I got more points. Yeah, at least you got a point. I was kind of mad that you got a point there, but yeah, that was that was a crazy race. Do you have any other closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
Nope, not. No, it was a crazy race. So, you better enjoy this race while you can, because Texas, get ready to get your pillows out, blankets out, because there's going to be a snooze fest.
Yeah, up until Martinsville, I think Martinsville is going to be intense. I'm so glad that.
Oh yeah, and also frustrating as well, because it's the 550 horsepower package. So have fun passing.
Yeah, Texas is going to be quite interesting for sure. But yeah, Martinsville is going to be intense. I can't wait to go to that with you. That'll be my first time there, and at least Chase Elliott's still in the playoffs. So whether he makes it or not, it's going to be a very stressful race for me. But yeah, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it. A lot of heated discussion today between us about a few controversial topics. A lot of emotion was showed today during this race. A lot of controversy as well. Harvick and Elliott feud that might be over, might not be over. We'll have to wait and see. Kyle Larson obviously overcoming a huge deficit to get the win.
My dad said he's gonna get you a Harvick hat from Martinsville. By the way.
Okay, I'll get it and I'll burn it. I'll burn it at the track. I'll burn it. So,
man.
But yeah. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. We'll come out with our preview for Texas later this week, which obviously we'll have to see how that race goes, because 550 horsepower package, but we'll see how that goes. But until then, we'll see you guys in our next video.